Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the March 14th, 2022 Select Board meeting. We're going to start off this meeting with a call to order and welcome the new Select Board members, Joyce Capiello and Rob Gibson. And with that, we are going to do their oaths. Select Person Bailey will read them oath.
And if you're trying to work on some of those logistical.
Robert Gibson.
Joyce Capiello.
Do solemnly
Do solemnly.
and sincerely swear and affirm.
Do
Do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
That I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as select board member.
discharge and perform.
I will faithfully and
I-
impartially discharge,
I will faithfully and impartially discharge
perform all the duties incumbent upon me as select board member
and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a select board
Barrington, New Hampshire,
of Barrington, New Hampshire,
of 3 years according to
of
For
3 years according to
best of my ability,
the best of my ability,
agreeable to the rules and regulations
agreeable to the rules and regulations
of this Constitution and
of this Constitution and
the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
This I do under the pain and penalty of perjury.
This I do under the pain and penalty of perjury.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Joyce.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome, guys. Really excited to have you aboard. The select board recognizes a vote, according to section 1D, the select board rules of procedures. Election of officers. I would like this, Danny?
Point of order, could we do the roll call attendance?
Oh, yep. Actually, we'll start the meeting off with roll call attendance. Please state your name and your address. Starting with Joyce.
Joyce Capiello, 23 Lois Lane.
Robert Gibson, 463 Washington Street.
Dan Mantrick, 353 Scruton Pond Road.
George Bailey, Chesley Drive.
Jim Sakosha, 21 James Henry Drive. Okay, now we shall all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we're going to start off with, we have to vote on vice chair and chair. Anybody interested in running for those positions that would like to nominate themselves?
I would like to run for chair if that's acceptable to everybody here.
Sure is. Joyce, why don't we start with you?
Yes.
So in this, where we got to pick one of the, or two of the five here, one to be chair and one to be vice chair. So if you think George Bailey is a good chairperson, or you would like to vote for him and say, hey, I'd like to nominate select person Bailey for chairperson, and then select person Mantrick for vice chair. If you want, we could probably start off at Dan and work our way this way, and then come back around to you guys.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would do that. I would vote.
Okay. All right, Dan, and who would your picks be, or nominees, I should say?
Oh, I thought we did that. Okay, George said he would run. I would run also, but I would run for vice chair also.
Okay, so we have a vote for George for chairperson, and then Dannon voted for himself for vice chair.
I will second all those nominations.
So I think if you could ask if there's any other nominations.
Yeah.
And vote on those if you wanted to.
Any nominations, other nominations, or?
No, but I think I was confused. Did I hear Dannon say he would put himself forward for chair or vice chair?
That's correct.
So so we have two people running for
Running for
chair.
chair. Okay. Why
Okay.
not?
And I'll run for chair as well.
Okay. So
Should we run?
Yeah, you can. You can run for vice chair. What
So
would we
maybe if those are the three nominations for chair, you could vote on that first.
do? Okay,
And, you could, after one round of voting, you could decide how to proceed. If there was a tie, we can cross that bridge when we come to it.
okay. Well, on the docket is the voting for the chairperson, starting with select person Capiello.
Okay, this is tough. This is my first vote. This is tough. I will vote for Dan and Manshek.
Same, Dan and Mitchell.
I will too.
Okay,
Okay. Myself, I will vote for myself.
okay, and I will vote for myself. Okay, and it sounds like Dan Mantrek is the new chairperson for the Barrington Select Board. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
thank you all. Thank you all.
You can turn it over to him now, or you could continue with the vice chair vote and then shuffle up if you'd like.
How would you like me to continue?
Why don't you continue as you are?
Okay, does anybody want to volunteer for the vice chairperson position?
Volunteer for that. It's open.
And I will volunteer for that as well.
My
Okay,
turn.
starting with Joyce.
I will vote for George Bailey for vice chair.
Okay,
George Bailey.
okay.
I will vote for myself.
George Bailey,
Seems
Thank you.
congratulations.
Go well.
It'll work. Okay, you want to trade?
We can, what do you,
I don't care.
Yep.
yeah,
I could,
That's
that's perfect. I could run it from here too. I think the sound is better up
Here's to hoping.
there. Okay, here we go. All right. Well, then our next thing on the agenda then is to review the agenda. Does everyone have any concerns with the agenda?
I'd like to move that we approve the agenda. If I may I ask a question? Has our new members been informed as to how this works?
Yes, I met with both new members on Friday. We talked about the meeting specifically, and I was able to address some questions about the consent agenda.
Yeah.
I think you could ask them if they're satisfied to proceed. But there's a few items that I'd like to address under agenda review, if I may, before there's a vote.
That'd be the chair to ask that.
You have any concerns? This is just the agenda. We're not talking about the consent agenda yet.
So any changes to the consent agenda are later.
We can do that.
I would do that now
Now.
under
Okay,
agenda
so,
review.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to pull the minutes approval out of the consent agenda because Joyce and I we were here, but not on the official capacity at the last time. And so we wouldn't be able to vote on that in the consent agenda.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to make a motion to add the appointments to the consent agenda.
So that was a recommendation I made in my town administrator. Appointments A through E there's 11 of them, I think I counted, that are up for a vote. This is already the second review. So opposed to the select board making 11 separate motions and votes, if the select board was satisfied with the 11 that are up for a vote this meeting, you could add those to the consent agenda, or you could consider them individually. It's up to you.
I will second Mr. Gibson's motion.
Vote. Any other
In the
discussion?
affirmative.
Gibson, aye.
Sakosha,
Bailey, aye.
Consent and Shrek, aye. Okay, so we've removed the minutes and we've added the 11 appointments that run from A, B, C, D.
C should be C through F.
Yeah, A, C.
Because
D.
we have
Yeah.
these two here.
Right.
And Mr. Chair, I had one more item that came up after the development of the agenda that I would like to request adding either the consent agenda or under new business. This is an appropriation request from the Tricentennial Committee, $3,500 from the expendable trust fund, which has a balance of $23,000 towards the purchase of banners celebrating the Tricentennial. And the select board needs to make that decision as agents to expend. I would ask that you consider adding it to the agenda, either under new business or the consent agenda.
So moved.
Which would you prefer?
I would prefer to have it on the consent agenda.
To move motion for the consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Gibson, second. Any other discussion?
I think
Roll
that's good.
call.
Aye.
Gibson, aye.
Bailey, aye.
And Shrek, aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have on the consent agenda now the appointments for the planning board and the transfer station and yes, for the transfer station and the zoning board.
Correct.
And we have taken off the meeting minutes and we've added the $3,500 for the bicentennial commission for buying banners. Does that sound right to everyone? Okay, we'll get to that next. So that's the agenda. Public comment. There are with 3 minutes. Each of you have 3 minutes. Those of you who are in attendance would come up here and state your name so that we can record that for the people listening at home. People listening at home, if you have a public comment, you're certainly encouraged you to do that. It'll be limited to 3 minutes. If you'll raise your hand, if you're doing it online. If you're doing it by telephone, it's *6.
Correct.
*6. And wait till you're recognized. Again, if you'll state your name and your address, be happy to hear from you.
Tiffany, I think I saw somebody's hand up. Do you see who that is?
Jessica Tennis. Jessica Tennis's hand is up, our recreation
Okay.
director.
Okay, anyone here in the audience first that would like to speak? Okay, okay. Who was it again?
Jessica Tennis.
Oh, Jessica. Jessica, please.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to just take a moment to just remind everybody that the before and after school care registration is taking place this Saturday online. That will be starting at 10 a.m. with a link that will go live directly on our recreation homepage. So this is a pretty big registration that, you know, most of the community is always looking for. So I just wanted to just do one more reminder to the community that that date is coming up again this Saturday at 10 a.m.
At 10. Anyone else? Oh,
Actually,
Chief Walker.
I just want to welcome Mr. Gibson and Ms. Capiello, welcome them to the board. Look forward to working with you over the next couple of years. Hopefully I get to retire before you do. And the other thing I wanted, just for a topic of conversation, I put my Tricentennial Committee chairperson hat on right now. We're going to order banners to work in conjunction with the flags that run along Route 9. And we're going to try to get some on 125. We're looking at probably around 20. We haven't nailed the prices now exact. I actually believe the cost to be closer to $2,000, but I wanted to ask for more money in case I asked for 2,000, it was a little more than that, but that's where we're at. And so we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anyone else? Give it a few seconds here for those of you who are online or either visually on Zoom or those are on telephone. Seeing anything? over
Not
there?
anything on mine, Mr. Chair.
All right. In that case, we will close the first public comment. There will be another public comment somewhat toward the end of the meeting. Time for public hearing. First, I'd like to welcome one of our state representatives, Cassandra Levesque. I hope that this will be the beginning of a chance for us to communicate with our elected representatives in Concord, and we can hear their problems, their concerns, what's going on in the House, and what we should be interested and directed to. So, Levesque, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we had, after the select board meeting a couple of meetings ago, we had solicited topics of conversation and or questions for our elected representatives in the State House, of which we received some, which we passed on to Ms. Levesque. And if you had a question and you want to ask her, you could do it that way, or I have the list here and I'm happy to bring them up as well, however you'd prefer, or certainly if there's interested or topics Ms. Levesque would like to discuss.
Why don't we start with the questions that we have gotten, and then this may prompt more information and more questions from the rest of the board. So,
would members like to ask their own questions, or would you like me to read them?
I would prefer if you read them.
Okay. So first,
That's only one.
well, I can start with your questions then.
yeah, there we go. Yes.
Sure.
Would you support updating death certificates to include was the deceased a veteran, and in which country, to allow for ease in recognizing veterans?
Yeah, as a veteran's daughter, I definitely would support this legislation if it came before. The issue that I do want to bring up that will be brought up either on the House floor or in one of the committees or on the Senate floor is that how much would that box cost? Because as we have learned throughout my time on the legislature is that something will cost, even if it's just like a box on the form. And would they need to provide a copy of their D214? Because most people there are people out there who would say, yes, I'm a veteran, and then it's good to have that proof to back up, like, were they already discharged or were they just discharged? And it depends on who provides the death certificates and what their opinions on it would be like. But yeah, I would definitely support this as a veteran's daughter to have it, because I think it's important to recognize them and show our support towards them in any way that we can.
Thank you. That's one of the questions I sent in. The reason I did that is with my affiliation with the American Legion. And the American Legion over the past years has provided a service, memorial service, whatever the individual wants. And sometimes the funeral parlor does not ask that particular question because it's there. And that individual does not receive the honors that were due them for that. This is a question I have put forward for years. And all it does is allow us to have that, and we offer it. The American Legion does it in this area, and there is no charge to the individual that comes there, but it's just another way of having it honoring. And then when we do the flags, it's there. And this year we had the wreaths. It's just another way of doing it. I would appreciate anything that you could do to convince some of your individuals that work with you to put this on there. It would be very nice. Thank you for taking the time to research this and move forward with it. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Got other questions?
There were. I'll read one more, and then if other members want to speak up, we can do that. Are you willing to provide a quarterly written update on what's happening in the legislature and how it applies to Barrington?
Yes, I am. The difficult part of the legislature is we can get as many bills up to between 8 and a couple thousand bills each term. And so if there's any specific bills that you would like me to follow up on that you've seen, I would definitely be willing to do that. Unfortunately, it's hard for me to follow each bill individually. I would like to say that I would love to be able to do that. Unfortunately, it's not possible to do so sometimes. And even this year, we have between the House and the Senate 1,204 bills. And so when each one goes before between around 37 committees. So if there's any legislation that you've seen come up or constituents of ours have reached out to you about, and I would definitely be happy to write up something for you.
Thank you. Other members that had topics, would you like to introduce them or would you like me to continue?
Why don't you continue?
Sure. House Bill 1033 is generally a bill about lobbying, and if it passed in its current form, how it would impact Barrington wouldn't necessarily change what we're able to spend money on. The bill prevents us from spending state or federal funds or property tax funds on lobbying activities, which could include the New Hampshire Municipal Association, but could also include professional associations like the Police Chiefs Association, Town Clerk Association, et cetera. But what it would do is it would require us to make sure that there's a separate account, not just separate bookkeeping, but a separate account for those dollars that are going to be used to pay for those activities, to make sure that they aren't property tax dollars or funds from the state, which in Barrington, about 60% of our revenue comes from either property taxes or state sources, and the remaining 40% comes from locally raised revenue, which could be, motor vehicle registrations, transfer station fees, et cetera. So I guess the question to you is, what's your position on House Bill 1033, and what do you know about its likelihood of passing in its current capacity?
So my position on it is definitely, I think that everybody should be able to come to the State House and give their opinion on bills. The State House is the people's house, whether or not they are select board members or the police, they should be able to come and give their piece about how they feel on a bill. That is what I believe. And as the current state of the bill, I would hopefully not see it passed. The House, it's leaning towards passing it, but the Senate, it's up to whether or not they choose to pass it or not. So we do have that system in place to where if the House deems it okay to pass and the Senate doesn't, it may or may not pass in the Senate. So what's up? Unfortunately, that's just and I definitely know that there are some people on the committee that definitely did not support this bill, and so hopefully we can change a few minds on it on the House floor. We are hearing it this week, so I can give you an update on that bill if you wish.
Fantastic.
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Is it out of committee, please?
Yes, it's out of committee.
Thank you.
It is going to be heard on the House floor.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. I think we ought to just go directly to her.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go through me. Please.
So moving on from House Bill 1033 is the governor's communication about meals and rooms tax, and recently an effort to possibly try to suspend the meals and rooms tax over the summer, which folks that have been part of the budget process through this past year know that it was the governor and the governor's office that fought hard to reinstate the meals and rooms tax, which led to a 60% increase for the town of Barrington, a couple hundred additional thousands of dollars of state aid, which was welcome news after a couple of years of COVID. And so in doing that, the refocus on having the municipal appropriation be from a portion of what the state collects. Obviously, if the state suspends and collects less, that's likely to impact what we're able to collect. So I guess there's some question about whether or not this can get through in this session or not. So I'd be interested to hear any insight on that. But also a general position, I guess, on suspending it, or if it was suspended, how you would make sure that municipalities, and Barrington included, could count on the revenue at the same level we've received in the past year.
So the governor has before, in past years, governors have said they would like to see legislation put forth. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. With the timeline of legislation right now, we're starting to reach the end of deadlines for bills, and then over the summer we'll take a break, and then in the fall we'll be elected again. And during the fall, if you are running again, you can put in bills, and if you get reelected or not, you can either have someone that's been elected before again, and they can take up that bill in place of you, and then it won't be until around January is when it will be assigned to a committee, and then between January and March is when it'll be heard in committee and then on the House floor. And so there's some time between when it'll be passed and when it'll be put in and when it'll be passed, and it has to go through the Senate. And so there's a process before it can even reach the governor's desk, if it will at all. So, and the passage date may take a while. It may be till 2023, 2024, depending on the passage date on the bill. And so that may take a little bit too. I would definitely vote against it because it's definitely a good thing to have. You know, I come from families, my family has worked in the hospitality business, and, you know, I think it's a good revenue to get from the state. So.
Thank you for that. Any follow-up? So a few other topics here. I think some have been resolved in the legislature, but I'll let you tell us for certain, for sure. But House Bill 307, which I'm personally less familiar with, but I understand that the subject matter is the state's preemption on gun regulation. So New Hampshire not being a home rule state, communities can't make their own laws. We only have the authority delegated by the state. But I think the goal of House Bill 307 is to take it a step further. So if that's still in play, are you able to speak to that or give us an update?
Yes, so I have all the bills right here with all of the amendments and the dockets at the end, so I can give that to you. So,
oh, awesome.
And this has all the...
Oh, thanks, Kat.
Mm-hmm. So the bill dockets basically just give you an update of whether or not the House passed it or not. That one, I believe, is coming up this week. Most of them are coming up this week because of the deadline for either the 17th or at a later date. So we'll be hearing that. And on HB 1359, that one was voted inexpedient to legislate last week. And the other ones it should be coming before us. So I can definitely give an update on those as they come before us.
So 1359 is inexpedient to legislate?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Is there anything going on in the State House that we didn't bring up that you think is of importance to our government or the residents of Barrington?
Yes, definitely. So some of the bills that are coming forth through the House, they will make it a little bit more difficult for legislators, the select board members, school administrators, because making it so parents can voice their opinions if they are upset by they ask a question, they're upset by the answer you give, they can bring a suit to the Superior Court. And the problem becomes the Superior Court right now is still slowly untangling itself from COVID-19 and trying to get back to kind of a normal-ish way. And so there's the HB 1431, that one's a parental bill of rights. A lot of it is already addressed either through legislation or through case law or federal law that's already addressed. There's also one that was mentioned here, 57. That one would also make it for select board members, because that would make it so if someone does not believe that you guys are doing your duties right, then they can bring a suit to the Superior Court, which I think that you guys are doing an amazing job, so I have no complaints here. You were doing a better job than I could ever do at the town level. So yeah, it's just that really coming forth. So I would be prepared for that. There's bills that are, one bill that was brought to my attention by the fire chief about camping grounds and not allowing them to get permits and for their fire pits, which has been tabled recently. So that is really good. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions? Cassie, thank you so much for being willing to come here and help us a little bit. I hope we'll be able to do this at your convenience on a regular basis so that we can keep each other informed where we stand and what you're doing. Appreciate it very much.
And if you have any questions, I gave Connor my phone, and on the back of it is my email, and you can email me anytime.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Cassie.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Okay, I have all these bills here, copies of all those bills. We can all take advantage of. The second part of the public hearing is the issue of the building permit on Gillette Road, private road, Martin and Mary Jane Coronis, is that correct? Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
I believe so.
And map 126, lot 12, sublot 1. Okay, this will involve them expending money to improve the road. Is there more to it than
I
that?
can give a brief introduction,
They here?
Mr. Bailey.
They here?
They are here, but we need to make sure where we are first.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is really the first review from the select board of the new policy, which gives some flexibility, more flexibility than the last policy, if it's applied, for residents that want to build, expand living space on private and class 6 roads. And so what the applicants here have done, their patients, they started this process months ago. And when the select board was considering changing their policy, but decided that if we don't change our policy, we're going to keep and implement the policy that we have. The property owners at that case thought that they might wait and see if there were other options other than bringing the road to a full 16 feet wide with shoulders, which the new policy does allow for. There is an option, which is option 2 for road improvements, which calls for making a 10% expenditure, 10% of the construction costs, which is what the property owners have elected to do here. And that's $8,000. They're building a cabin on this lot. And in consultation and support of the road agent, that $8,000 they plan to spend that $8,000 towards tree removal to allow, more room turning through the road there, and begin the effort of widening it. And so that's what's proposed. They've submitted the documents that we've requested. You'll notice the road maintenance agreement in there that is yet to be signed. They'll be required to sign and record that prior to the issuance of a building permit. And you also see the quote and the scope for the tree removal, which will be verified prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. And so happy to answer any other questions, but that's this application complies with the policy as written.
Thank you.
Representatives of that, Mrs. Coronas, or anyone on that road?
You could open the public hearing.
Yep.
And anybody that wanted to
Yep.
speak to it.
Time. Yes, there you are.
Hi,
Thank
I'm here.
Sorry. Please go ahead.
I do not have a presentation. I was just here to answer questions. I have met all the obligations according to the regulation, and hopefully things will go my way this evening.
Does anyone have questions for Ms. Coronas?
I have none, too.
I think we're good. Okay. Need a motion?
Well, so maybe if there's any other comment, so it's a public hearing, so public comment beyond the applicant. If there's anybody in the room participating virtually that would like to make a comment relative to the issuance of a building permit on map 126, lot 12, sublot 1. Now is your opportunity to do so before the select board renders a decision. Participating on a computer, you can raise your hand in the Teams program, or if you're on a phone, you can press *6 to unmute yourself, speak up. Not seeing anything on mine, Mr. Chair, for additional public comments.
Okay. Now, do we have a motion?
Close the public comment portion.
Well, we can close, yes, okay, we can do it that way. Close that, therefore, we'll close the public hearing. Select board,
Okay, Capiello, yes.
but we need a motion.
Motion.
Who would like to move acceptance or to authorize the issuance of a building permit?
I would like to make a motion to authorize the assurance of a building permit for map 126, lot 12, sublot 1 as proposed.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Mrs. Capiello, second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Capiello, aye.
Gibson, aye.
Sakosha,
Bailey, nay.
Matt Shrek, aye. It passes. The motion passes to issue a building permit as proposed. Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Consent agenda, as we've modified it. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
make a motion to approve the March 14th, 2022 consent agenda, A through F as modified.
It's actually B through, yeah, B through F, G, H.
We can leave the letters out of it and just say as modified, I think is appropriate.
Okay, make a motion to approve the March 14th, 2022 consent agenda as modified.
Second?
Second.
Gibson, second. All those in favor?
Capiello, aye.
Gibson, aye.
Sakosha,
Bailey, aye.
And Shrek, aye. Okay.
do you want us to vote like that, or do you want us to all vote like aye at the same time?
I think we could say aye at the same time.
Okay.
I think.
I just want to get the flow going.
Yeah, well, there are certain things that we talk about that need a roll call vote.
Okay.
But I think most of these don't need roll call votes.
Correct.
Okay, let us then turn our attention to the minutes for the February 28th meeting. We could have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve February 28th, 2022 minutes, Barrington Select Board minutes.
Mr. Bailey, made motion, and we need a second.
The meeting minutes for February 28th, 2022?
Yep. So, Mr. Scotia, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstentions maybe.
Yes, sorry.
Abstain.
They abstain. Okay, it's useful when you abstain to give a reason. I think we know the reason, but I think that would be useful.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't a select
Right.
board member at the last meeting.
Abstaining for the same reason, was not a select board member at the
Very
last
good.
meeting.
Thank you very much. Okay, okay, let's address the two appointments. We've taken out the planning board, the transfer station, and the zoning board. First is on Vanessa Price to be the Stratford Metropolitan Planning Organization Technical Advisory Committee member.
So moved.
Well, that's one we moved to the consent agenda.
No, we didn't. We took those two out. We just did C through.
Okay, my apologies. I
Yeah.
guess I missed that.
No, I'm sorry, we pulled those out.
I thought you added A through E to the consent agenda. So that was my misunderstanding.
No, C through E,
Okay,
sorry.
yeah, no sweat.
I motioned for approval.
You move.
Ms. Price?
We have a second. I'll second. Mantrek second. Favor, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. And for Ms. Cottle to be the deputy town treasurer.
Question,
Yes, sir.
is there a residency requirement?
No,
Thank you.
Question, good. Needs to move this.
I'll move it.
Bailey,
Ms. Cottle to be the deputy town treasurer.
second. Mr. Scotia, second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right. On beyond appointments.
well, there were a few appointments that were just for discussion because it's a first
Right.
meeting.
Okay.
So
On
I
the
can help you
recreation.
with that. The first one is actually under the planning board. It's Donna Masucci.
I'm sorry, I thought that was. Okay,
Well,
sorry.
yeah, this is the first round. You,
I'm sorry. Go.
no sweat. So Dawn is looking to be reappointed, looking to be a participant as an alternate on the planning board. You have her materials in your packet.
I have no concerns on having her.
Donna has a heart, country mile wide.
Yeah,
She's always been around in town helping out one way or another.
it's a nice job.
Yeah.
The next in order, George Bailey, your colleague, has applied to rejoin the zoning board.
Mr. Bailey has also dedicated a lot of his spare time to this town, and thank him for that.
Thank you.
I'm glad to report that I think there's a couple of other people that are interested in either the zoning board or planning board, so hopefully we'll have full boards with alternates. I'll pass those applications for appointment along when they're received. And then the Recreation Commission, Dale Sylvia, current chair, that would be a reappointment. And David Johnson is currently an alternate. This would be an appointment as a full member. He's been an alternate just for a couple of months, but a good, strong couple of months. And I will point out, Mr. Noble, Jim Noble, who'd been on the Rec Commission for a long time, not only did he do his civic duty by dedicating his time to the Rec Commission, but knowing that he was ready to step away, he found not one, but two people to come in his stead. So Mr. Johnson and his name's escaping me, Mr.
Yeah.
Ramsey.
Right.
Were the two new members that Mr. Noble brought in. So everybody else is on notice. If you're an appointed representative and looking to step away from your role, the bar's been set high by Mr. Noble. Required to find not one, but two people in your stead.
Too bad there wasn't some way we could make that a requirement. It would really be nice.
Okay, yes, so those are the four that will be up for a vote at the next meeting. And certainly if there's any additional information or questions anybody has, we have time before the next meeting to collect that information. So you can bring that up now or between now and the next meeting.
For those listening at home and for the new members, we had voted to do this in a two-stage process for all of the appointments. And so those four are the first reading essentially, and we will then vote on them on their second meeting. The other people had already received a hearing. We're now in. That's why we voted for them. All right. Mr. McIver, staff report.
Yes, thank you. So we're here the first meeting in March, and I would like to call your attention to the March work anniversaries. So this is generally one of the bigger months, right, after the budget is approved. So that's a lot of times when new positions might start, which might be the case for a couple of the folks here, other than just regular attrition timing. But Steve Paul has been with the Highway Department for 22 years now. Eric Lindsay, who's currently the Assistant Fire Chief, has worked with the town for 21 years, in various capacities. Peter Royce, your Town Treasurer. This 17 years is kind of an arbitrary number. He's been involved much longer than that. But this is likely it was 17 years ago that he drew his first paycheck, because this comes from our accounting system. Larry Kuhn in the Fire Department for 16 years. Will Lenharth similarly in the Fire Department for 16 years. Amanda Barber, currently our Detective Sergeant in the Police Department, has been with the town for 6 years. And Melissa Hewitt, our esteemed Library Director, was hired 4 years ago this month. So certainly appreciate the continued in the great organization of the town of Barrington. The other thing that I wanted to share at this point is on Friday, actually when I was doing some orientation with the new select board members, I got a call from Congressman Pappas letting me know that the budget had passed in the House and the Senate, and he expected the president to be signing it forthcoming. And the reason he called is to share that the $1.5 million that he had advocated for on our behalf to be included in that budget of direct federal funding under a program that I understand the federal government is calling community project funding was in the budget that passed. And so it is much more likely that the town of Barrington will be receiving that $1.5 million towards the town hall project. This was an effort which started last year and was certainly we were uncertain through the process, and the federal budget continued to be delayed, which I think contributed to the uncertainty. But I hope to be working with the HUD office in DC soon through the grant agreement and finalizing delivery of that $1.5 million to the town of Barrington, which will make a huge difference, as you know, in the town hall project, likely eliminate the need to bond any money, and will also largely eliminate the need to spend any additional town funds other than what was already appropriated on the project. So especially with the project that was approved in 2019 and is still under construction to this point, although they're at breakneck speed over there on Route 125. I think this is a very positive thing for the community, and I'm glad that it's much more likely at this point, and I feel confident in saying it's likely we'll end up with that $1.5 million.
Seemed much closer than it was.
Hmm.
Would point out that our original request was for $500,000, wasn't it?
Correct. World works mysterious ways. I guess when you run the printer, it's easy to go from 500,000 to 1.5 million. So, but yeah, so that's very positive news. I have an updated price or contract term from Carino with the all-in project that'll be about 2.5 million built out completely. And I think one thing that that has been on the back burner, but I anticipate discussing with full backup with the select board, maybe at the next meeting, is considering an item or two that we had put off the table at the beginning of the process based on funding. One of those things being sprinklers for the building. And maybe if we don't sprinkle the whole building, we can at least install the stuff, during construction, so that the plumbing component of it. And so at least we have that because, we obviously hope this building will last decades for the town of Barrington. So, I don't expect much of that, much for add-ons, but I think if we have the flexibility to, now would be certainly the time to consider that. So there may be more conversation about that if there's interest.
Okay. Yes. Please bring it up.
I would like to recommend that we have a building committee meeting so we can have their input.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be ideal. Please. Okay. Administrative problem.
Yes. Map 111 lots 10 and 11. That was Little School Butters. It was tax deeded property that was authorized for sale back in November. Sales was finalized.
Oh, good.
We have 11 for those that disapproved, and the approved minutes for the February 28th meeting will be sent by DocuSign. We'd like to preserve those links, so I didn't print those ones out. Thank you.
See how much fast you speak and
Boom.
Cheers.
it's magic,
That's it. Thank you very much.
magic. All right. All right, shall we go to old business? Select board committee assignments. I think our new members have all been briefed on what this is all about. We can look at, if people want to stay, if the three of us would like to stay on the committees we have.
I would.
I would too. So let's see. We have Conservation Commission, no. Rec Commission, yes. That seemed fair. I think it's fair, and the three of us, we can outvote them.
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
Rules of procedure says one person gets to make that decision, and that's the esteemed chair.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I try to share that. Okay, so Mr. Sakosha would stay on the Rec Commission. I'd like to stay on the school board,
Stay on the library.
and I'd like to stay on the Advisory Budget Committee. You're on the ZBA, is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm appointed as a full member, not as a representative from the select board, but because I am on the select board, I've also assumed that position also.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. So planning board, you're the library, you're on the library.
That's correct. I do the library and the ZBA.
Right, okay, so Conservation Commission, let's see, Jim, what else are you on?
I just have the rec department.
Oh, good, okay. Bueno. So Tech Committee, Trail Committee, Town Lands Committee, Planning Board.
If I may,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, the most
yeah.
important of these is the ex officio member to the planning board.
Right.
And it's not only the most important, but it's also of these groups, likely the
Going
most
harder.
time consuming.
Right.
In addition to your role as a select board member. And so that would be one that would add another, 2 night meetings a month on Tuesday evenings. And is essential to be filled by somebody.
Does anyone else
I
have?
have a
things they'd
comment,
like
sir.
to- Yes,
On the planning board, it's also recommended by the state under the RSA that the planning board member be the junior member so they can serve for 3 years on the planning board, but that's just a recommendation from the state. I gotta come forward, so.
I'll help out. I mean, if somebody needs to pick up some slack with the Trails Committee, I'll hop on that.
okay. Anyone else? New members?
I think what, in the orientation, the rules were that we have the coming week or so to reach out to the chair to try to figure out.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be resolved tonight, absolutely. What I have asked is that the chair by the next meeting make that decision, so we have those appointments. And so certainly, if you prefer to resolve this between now and the next meeting, that's just as good as anything.
Okay. I'm going to appoint myself to school board because there is a meeting tomorrow. And having said that, I think for the first time in my memory, we actually have a school board member at our meeting tonight. Thank you very much, Ms. Neal. Appreciate that. A good start on that. Also, there's a transfer station recycling center review committee meeting Wednesday. So I'll appoint myself to that also, since I've been doing that, but we could change that if you want. So if anyone would get to me with what they'd like to.
Trails and rec over here.
Trails and Rec, there's a I'll vote for Trails and Rec. Anyone else have any preference today, or would you like to wait a little bit? But me.
Well, I'm staying with the library and CPA, yeah. Okay, you're talking about the Conservation Commission and Planning Board?
That's correct. And the Tech Committee
Those three.
and Town Lands.
Is that a subcommittee of the Conservation Commission?
No.
Town lands?
No,
The
it's
Trails
separate.
Committee is really the subcommittee of the Conservation Commission. I don't know if, they do meet, so you could attend those meetings, Jim, but I don't know if it'd be better to get your information about the Trails Committee through the Conservation Commission. Up to you, but we kind of consolidated the Trails Committee. So when the Trails Committee meet, they really just meet to work on trails. And then administratively, it's kind of part of the Conservation Commission.
So if you'll get to me sometime the next week or so.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Good. Yes. Each year in the last, yeah, we'll consider the appointments reappointments. Okay, update on the sale of map 248 lot 3. This has been an ongoing. Well, actually, we sort of resolved it, but now there are other issues. Can you lay out that for us, Connor?
I can. So this is a lot that we have tried to sell for a couple of years now. Through that entire process, the abutters, the Young and Lee family that live at map 116 lot 21 have been interested. And so most recently last summer, when we went through the process, the land sale process of offering lots directly to abutters, these abutters spoke up and made an offer of $49,500 to buy this lot. This lot is there's a map in the packet. It's a landlocked lot, about 22 acres. It's geographically, it's a couple of lots behind where the town forest is. It's behind the Lee family lot, which is on Young Road, adjacent to Swain Lake, and it's bounded near Marsh Road, which is a Class 6 road. So they offered $49,500. They were the only ones. The select board entered agreement to sell them property, going through the title work and the closing process, which obviously takes many months because here we are in March and just a couple of today, and we're still working on this one. They made a request that due to the title work that will be required after sale to resolve the title, they expect that to cost them about $5,000, and so they are asking for a reduction of $5,000 in the purchase price. I think the select board has previously taken stances in requests like this with a principled approach, saying a deal's a deal, and you offered and agreed to $49,500, and that should be the the due diligence should have been done up front. On the other side, this lot is a lot the town's been trying to sell for a couple of years now. They've been the only ones interested in paying any money for it. At $49,500 for a landlocked lot with no immediate access, I think even at $44,500, the town is recouping a good deal of money on a lot that we would like to get back on the tax rolls. So it's certainly the select board's decision, and I think there's arguments on either side, but that's why you get paid the big bucks.
Yep. And I think the town lands commission or the conservation commission did not want this, even though it's close to even though it abuts the town forest.
Correct. The plan supported by the Town Lands Committee and the Conservation Commission was to take proceeds from this sale and try to acquire the lot, which is actually in between this lot and the existing town forest.
Oh, okay.
Existing town forest is about 50 acres. The lot in between these two is about 25 acres. And the Town Lands Committee developed a lead with the owner of that lot in between, who similarly has limited access, and it's a landlocked piece of property. And once we resolve the sale of this lot, the select board authorized proceeding to try to buy that lot in order to expand the town forest and not impact taxpayers. Truth be told, we don't know what the purchase price would be for that other lot. It's similar to this lot, and I think regardless of what we get paid for this lot, that's a good starting point to try to acquire the other lot, since it's all public information anyways.
What's the value of that piece of property? What would be the going price if somebody were to buy that?
You asked me a question I don't know the answer to. So the assessors, the tax assessors put a value on every lot, and that's where the 49,500 came from. That's the current assessed value. As a footnote, I will tell you that the assessors pay not as close attention to town-owned property as they do privately owned property. Since, they're contracted service, we pay them a certain amount of money, and quite frankly, I wouldn't want to be paying them to update the value of the public safety building every year. We have values through our insurance company anyways. So I will tell you that the assessing office's value of that lot is 49,500, but I would be surprised if that was an appraised value if you had an independent.
What percentage is that 49,000?
What percentage is it? 100%.
That's at 100% rate.
That's at 100%.
All right.
So $5,000 discount would essentially be a 10,000 or 10% reduction of the.
Okay, that's.
So what do you think? We have a chance to get 44,500 right now. We don't know about the 49,500. If
Well, they gave us the offer of 49. I think we should just stay with it and not change it. Because when this question came up before, I also voted to stay at the original price they offered.
other thoughts?
I would concur with Select Person Bailey. I think it sets a precedence for going forward in other aspects, so.
A question. So the $5,000 in question here, that's conservation money or town money?
Town money.
Town money.
Good question. Yeah, so revenue, it's all general fund expenditures and revenue. So anything that we collect in revenue, whether it's from the transfer station, the building department, even the dollar that you pay for a copy at the town hall, all goes and just reduces the amount that needs to be raised by taxes at tax rate setting time. There are some exceptions where money will go directly into a certain account. In the conservation fund specifically, what is it, 75% of every land use change tax payment by statute and adopted by town meeting goes directly into the conservation fund. Not to get too much into the weeds, but that we were talking about the town forest, because that's a properly established town forest. If we ever had that logged or generated other revenue from that lot, those funds would go directly into a town forest maintenance fund. But by default, absent of those exceptions, which there are others, by default, revenue simply goes to buy down the tax rate.
All right, thank you, because I was wondering if we kept it at 49, that meant the Conservation Commission would have further money to put towards buying this lot that they wanted.
No, it's a great question, a good clarification. So you'll hear me say probably too much over the next 3 years that money's fungible. And so a lot of times, we will talk about money like we're using the same dollars. But when it comes to the accounting, it's actually not the exact same dollars. It's just, hey, we have 44,500, and that's, a good way to explain that we're able to buy something else for 44,500, even though it's not the exact same dollars.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? We actually need to, we do need a motion to.
I'd like to make a motion not to accept reduction on that piece of property. It's up for sale, lot 248. Lot 3, map 248.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Let's do a roll call vote on this.
Cappiello, aye. not to reduce it.
Gibson, aye.
Scotia.
Bailey, aye.
And Shrek, aye.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Very good. Now, many of you might know the last time or what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, the sewer system backed up, closing the rec department and the library. And we need some emergency septic repairs. There is some money available. But we need to approve that. It's an unexpected expense. They say it will cost $39,150.
I would like to make if there's no further discussion.
I don't have any.
I would like to make a motion to authorize the proceeding with the Bodett and Sons quote dated March 3rd, 2022 for repairs to the recreation library septic discharge system in the amount of $39,150 using the budgeted funds available in the general government buildings, building maintenance.
I'd second that.
Mr. Bailey seconds. That was a mouthful. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I approve. Sorry.
No, thank you. I didn't say opposed. Very good. Okay, yes, 23% of people in Barrington of the registered voters voted, a little more than 23%, better than last year.
Was the final 24%?
Just shy,
Yeah, 23.8 or something.
23.78.
Right.
An extra place, hundreds.
If you're
you
gonna
know,
be that way.
If you're counting,
If you're gonna be that way.
that's a real person, Dannon.
That's true.
Okay.
That's that person. You're good. I thought the system worked pretty well. Most of the people I talked to.
Some of the comments I made were, it's about time and that kind of thing. It's made it real easy. And there was a backup every now and then, maybe 2 or 3 people. I don't know if there's plans to put another person. I think there's only 3 people there handling most of it during the time, but it really was like slice of bread, really, really worked well.
In the past, every time I've come, the Mantrek line is 8 miles long and no one else is either side.
Yep. Yeah. And this, it didn't even bother me to have my license go through because I know it stays here. It doesn't go out on the net or any of the other connections. I really thought it was great.
I think the test will be the primary, which is going to be a little more complex because we have to indicate the party that people vote for. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that if we have a couple more volunteers to work that desk, to really work it through.
Is that doable?
Yes, so that you hit the nail on the head. The goal of implementing it at a local election was to be better prepared for the primary. Staff, the election staff, the staff in the town clerk's office, overwhelmingly positive experience. And similarly, I heard from a lot of residents that they were very satisfied with the system. So we purchased 5 units, 5 poll pads. That's what the select board authorized last year. So we had 3 of them stationed at check-in, 1 of them at the supervisors of the checklist desk, so new registered voters. And then we had 1 that was dedicated just for absentee ballots. And so we expected that the 3 would adequately serve the residents for the local election. But that 4th that or the 5th really, that was dedicated to absentee ballots, that can be reconfigured real time to collect check-ins. And I believe that we'll have at the primary election, all 4 stations take the 1 offline for the time that it takes to process the absentee ballots and then put it back online. And so, yes, it was a very positive experience. I will point out, we had a couple of questions about, voter integrity, vote counting with the electronic ballot machines and things like that. And I think it's great when folks are curious about how the election works, how their votes are tabulated. And everybody, in our opinion, should know the answers to the questions that they have. To that end, we posted a new frequently asked question answer on the town's website, which addresses some of those questions. So we were able to share the answers to the folks that had asked through that venue, but it addresses the vote tabulators and the poll pads a little bit. And so, yes, very positive experience. And we were visited by the Secretary of State himself, who was impressed with our implementation of the system and had no questions or concerns for us. So very positive.
Would it be, it's just a question, would it be advisable with the clerk town clerk support having another machine there so as not to interfere with the absentee ballot, so we could have a fourth person machine there? And the other part of my question is, what do they cost? I forget what we authorized.
So, yes, that's a good question. Cost off the top of my head, I think it was like $2,000 for a unit. I will ask the question of the town clerk about additional equipment. I know that we made the decision based on cost, weighing perceived benefit with cost and the number of units. We were originally thinking 4 and upped it to 5, thinking that you all might be so generous as to approve 5, which you did. So there's plenty of time between now and the primary, and I can ask the question and get the exact information back to you about additional units if the clerk's office thinks they're needed and what the cost would be.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, what bothers me is we wrote for all intensive, almost 24% just for a local election. And if that's any symbol, that was what, 11% higher or even 10% higher. That's still gonna push a lot of people through that same, and I think having the town clerk's input would really help us. I go that for all of us there, because it's just something that I think we need to push them through, because I can remember in the past, go back to, we were directing traffic. We were allowing so many to come in, holding so many up in the hallway. But this system just beautiful.
Yeah.
If
It'd be nice to see what the town clerk says, but a fourth station might be enough to improve it, in which case we wouldn't have to get a new piece of equipment. On the other hand, if we wanted to put, say, 5 across, we might need a 6th piece.
Well, the reason I'm saying to get 1 unit is because when you get ready to do the absentee ballots, when do you take the machine? Say, there are a lot of people that go on vacation. There's snowbirds, what have you. It increases the absentee ballots. That's the only reason why I said it, Mr. Chairman.
No, I think it's a good question. I think it'd be good to get Kim's input. And
that's yes.
And we can discuss that. We have time to discuss it. Work through. Anything else here?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just wanted to call the community and the public's attention to the overwhelming support from those 23% of voters in the initiatives that the town brought forward. To see almost 75% approval for the operating budget when 23% of the voters come out to vote, and remembering that operating budget reflects a 5% increase over last year. Now, of course, last year's was a budget reduction, and that entire increase we expect to make up for in additional revenue. But that is a very positive thing. In addition to the many warrant articles and contributions that are smart financial planning for the big purchases that we have. And so I know it's a lot of hard work by volunteers, the select board budget committee, but also staff, department heads and the staff that support them. And so, we get one chance a year where the voters have an opportunity to get together in mass and tell us how they think we're doing. And the message that I think we received was that we like what you're doing. We appreciate the efforts. We're willing to support you in the ballot box. So the culmination of a lot of hard work and shouldn't go unrecognized.
Thank you. I agree with that. It was a nice job. I thought that the whole process went smoothly. Okay, select board member report concerns, Mr. Scotia.
So we obviously here at the rec department, they get the sewage issue. They're fixing that in conjunction with their wall project that's currently going on. And then we heard from Jesse earlier that Saturday the 19th, be looking online for registrations, 10 a.m. I believe she said it was, and stay tuned.
Very good. That's for what program?
The recreation department.
I know which program we're registering for again.
It was after school care.
Very good. Okay, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you very much. I have a library meeting coming up and I have a ZBA meeting coming up. Be able to report on those at the next meeting.
Very good. The school board meets tomorrow. Transfer station meets Wednesday. ABC won't meet again until September, although I'll return my, it would be good to return your budget book. Save us $5 or whatever they cost. Yes. Thank you. Stand by. You get
Nothing to report.
next time. You get the same. All right. It is now time for a second public comment. Again, 3 minutes. If you're here and would like, we'll go to the people that are here first who want to comment. You'll come up and speak into the machine here so that everyone can hear you at home. For those of you at home, if you're watching online, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you. For those of you who are here by telephone, you'll press *6 and unmute yourself. We'll recognize you and you may speak there. So Chief Walker is here. Surprise, surprise.
I'm here to speak on behalf of the Tricentennial Committee. On Saturday, the Firemen's Association is hosting a pancake breakfast. We gave it up for a couple of years to get through the COVID stuff. A lot of people have been pushing, so we're expecting a good day. We will have a table set up for the 300th anniversary with items for sale and to give information out. Coming up in April, on Saturday, April 9th, we'll be having a variety show with a lot of local talent that is designated as a fundraiser for the Tricentennial. And then coming up in May, what is scheduled on Tuesday, May 10th, is a select board meeting. That will be a very brief meeting. We wanted to have a meeting that night. That was the actual day 300 years ago the town was incorporated. Our intention is to pull the meeting together, do a reading of the charter. You folks acknowledge that it's our 300th year. We'll close the meeting out and we have a concert lined up. There will be a free concert immediately following the selectmen's meeting. It's our intention right now to have that meeting set up in probably the gymnasium at the middle school. And we'll just take a short break, get you guys out of the way and a free concert. We're lining up talent for this concert. I believe that night is a Barrington, former Barrington resident, but we're pretty excited about that. And then,
Are you doing a solo or a duet?
have you ever heard me sing? You're running me out of the building.
I'll bring the barrel.
And then coming right up in June, where we have a couple of things that are in the works right now. And then obviously in July, on July 23rd will be the parade. It's our intention to have the select board participating in that parade with us. It's going to be a big one. The town will be proud of the effort put forth to the committee's working. The parade is being 100% underwritten by TurboCam, which we're very thankful for. They did that. Followed up Later that day with an encampment, that is, an overnight encampment that is being underwritten by, Unified Builders. Then we'll have events all that week, always adding stuff to it. And then, on Saturday night, the 30th, we have a fireworks display that will, touch off right after dark, and we're working on lining up some type of entertainment starting around 7 o'clock, and follow up with a concert to interested before dark. So we're getting excited. There's gonna be a lot more. You'll see a lot more movement, but the thing's coming up real quick. And we're hoping to do as much as we can. We'll be basically free to town. There'll be a few things that there will be a to working on a big concert as a fundraiser. Hoping to be able to pull off a cycle percussion. We're just trying to find this, can make a date work that they're excited about. Hopefully we can do that, but it's, we're getting excited. So, thank you.
Chief, say again, the pancake breakfast, is that this Saturday or?
Yes, this Saturday,
19th.
7:30 to 10:30.
All right, thank you.
Any waffles?
Waffles, sure, come on down, Jordan.
Thank you. I'll be there for waffles.
Very good. All right, any other public comment?
I have one
Yeah.
virtually.
Yes,
You ready
please.
for that?
Yes.
It's Elliott.
Ms. Elliott? Ms. Elliott,
Hi, can you hear me?
there you are. Thank you.
Okay, great. First of all, the repairs, oh, sorry, this is Lee Elliott, 108 Autumn Lane. The repairs that will be occurring to the rec department obviously will significantly impact the library. We'll be discussing this in detail at our meeting tomorrow night, but something I just wanted to put on the table for consideration is bathroom usage. The staff have agreed to using porta potties. They would like to be able to wash their hands with soap and water. We're hoping we can use the ECLC for that. Our biggest question is after hours, could the staff still be able to use those restrooms? And also just, we'll discuss this again tomorrow night, but porta potties in the space that we're at, as you walk into the library, it's pretty tight in there. We have one employee who's using a walker. So it's quite a conundrum for the library also. We understand the repairs have to happen, but I just wanted to make sure it was on your radar that we've got a pretty big situation here ourselves.
Yeah, we probably can contact the school.
Yeah, I've been in
Yeah.
contact with the facility manager
you.
and the library director to work out a plan, waiting for the green light tonight. But I know the library director said she was gonna work with the trustees to figure out what solution worked best. The facilities director offered the bathroom at the ECLC and obviously porta potties as well. So I think with input from the library trustees on what they think will be best, we can get a plan finalized and hit the go button.
Very good.
Great, thanks for your support. Just wanted to make sure it was on the radar. Thank you.
Don't go away quite yet, Mr.
Well-
Bailey.
My concern is if we have inclement weather such as snow or freezing rain, I would hope that somebody would consider closing the library if that would be a point. I am not a voting member, but that would be something they should consider, and we should also consider it, so we don't have the employee falling and getting hurt.
Certainly, yes, and that's always a concern of ours. Melissa does have the ability to make that call, and we confer with her as well, but she always makes a really good judgment call to protect the staff and patrons. But thank you.
Thank you.
Not for nothing, but just kind of like an informational note, they do make porta potties or portable restrooms, however you want to call them, with water in them and handicap accessible. So it's not just the one size, they got multiple sides. And
Okay, we want that one.
there you go. Get after it.
Thank you.
Joe, are they heated? The one-
All right, any other comments, either personally or by telephone?
We see him at meetings.
Or anyone here would like to make
See him on some
comment?
chat.
Give you about 30 seconds. Hearing nothing else, we'll end the public comment session. And I think we need to move to go to non-public pursuant to RSA 91 dash alpha 3 Roman 2 for purpose of legal. Do I have a second for that? Bailey seconds. Favor?
Aye.
It's roll call.
Abstain.
Oh, that does need a roll call vote. I'm sorry, you're right. Roll call vote, please.
Roll call.
For ending the meeting?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I
No,
didn't-
non-public,
session.
have a non-public legal matter to take care of.
Capiello, aye.
Gibson, aye.
Motion abstain.
Bailey, aye.
Bailey, aye. Mantrek, aye. Yeah,
No, it's
I
just
understand.
Great, so we're gonna go into non-public and we'll close the meeting in public,
some,
watching at home.